today's resource person, Gopi Krishna Sivam Garu. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, sir. And a very good morning to all the participants, those who are attending this program, even though in this pandemic, interestingly. So, in this, I'm very much congratulate the members who are we are involving this to involve in this particular this one to so I know the problems faced while arranging this. So I have to appreciate our CEMS members to provide some time for this, and also the students, particularly before this pandemic, we regularly conducting various programs and to try to bridge gap between the industry and the academics. So in that aspect, our department is always ahead. So with the enjoying students, first of all, we have to congratulate your seniors and present final year students, those who are involved very actively to learn the things and also to organize such a programs. So unfortunately, this year we are not able to make the physical contact classes. So if any teacher is there, so whatever the number of students, even the number group is maybe 5 or 10 or 100, the teacher has an eye contact and he can understood the feelings of the student, whether he is listened to his class or not, or he has any doubt. So immediately they may interact with the student and try to clarify. So that opportunity was they miss. And interestingly, most of the final year students, not only final year, third year students also approach me in various occasions and ask them to ask us to continue the offline classes. So in this pandemic, it is not possible to avoid the academic year loss. The government and our entire faculty are trying to give a good exposure to you and to continue this academics without loss of academic year. So because of the students only, even we have risk. So they are with us, with you only. So I try to understand the problems and I request each and every student who are in this program try to concentrate and learn the things, and we have excellent resource person here, and definitely you can get the proficiency. So Gopi Krishna Garu is here, and please make use of this and avail this opportunity to learn the things, so which will be useful for your a better future. Thank you, Mr. Satish, and the student coordinators, student chair, particularly Vamsi, and the coordinator Srikanth and Kiran. So for your active participation, thank you very much. Over to Satish.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Before starting the meeting, I request Vamsi of 4x4 ECA to introduce today's speaker, Gopi Sivam, sir. Over to you,
Thank,
Vamsi.
thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I am Vamsi Krishna from 4x4 EC. I am very glad to welcome Commander Gopi Krishna Swaram, sir, It's a great honor for me to give introduction about Commander Gopi Krishna Sivam sir, Chief Operating Officer, CEMS. He is a mechanical engineering graduate from Nagarjuna University and holds an MBA from Andhra University and MSc in Defense and Strategic Studies from prestigious University of Madras. He has proudly served the Indian Navy for 22 years in responsible positions on board naval units. He has been involved in numerous projects for the Navy in the technical and operational domain. Commander Gopi sir is also an alumnus of Defense Service Staff College, Wellington. Post completion of his tenure at the Indian Navy, he served as Vice President Operation for Cummins India Limited, responsible for a customer base of 10,000 engines spanning 10 districts across Andhra Pradesh. He also held responsible positions for RVR Projects Limited, based at Vizag, for 5 years. Currently, he is the Chief Operating Officer for CEMS, responsible for overall operation, strategic planning, marketing of CEMS. Thank you, sir, for giving this great opportunity to introduce you.
Yeah, thank you, Vamsi. It's a great pleasure to us being a commander. We are happy to have you, sir. Welcome you, sir. And now it's your time, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I would like to thank Vamsi for giving a nice introduction about me, and Dr. Venkateshwara Garu, HOD sir, Dr. Satish, student coordinator Shrikant, Kiran, and Vamsi. I'm really, and my dear students, it's really an honor to be present here today to interesting subject called Industry 4.0 and the technologies that are there. I'm also assisted with my colleagues, Mr. Suresh, who is also who's a training head for SIMS, and Ms. Sahitya, who is there, and Mr. Prasad, who's an experienced person in the Industry 4.0 technologies. We will all be talking to you for the next 1 hour or so. We'll try to make this session very interesting. I'll request all of you to pay attention because we will be introducing you to various technologies which are there. We'll be showing you some videos and everything, and I will request you to pay complete attention because it's something very exciting field ahead of you. And with this small introduction, I will just start sharing my screen and start the presentation. So today we are going to talk about Industry 4.0 technologies, and I am from Center of Excellence in Maritime and Shipbuilding, Visakhapatnam, which is a high-end Industry 4.0 skill development initiative which has been started by the Government of India under the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. In this, we had this particular ministry has started a prestigious project called Sagarmala. I request all students to note this name called Sagarmala and browse it at your time. Whenever you get time, you'll understand what the government is planning for this particular sector in such a big way. Then for that particular reason, they've invested almost 800 crores in Visakhapatnam and Mumbai to provide this kind of a center which can fill the gap between the industry and the academic institutions. We welcome the HOD sirs, faculty and students of this prestigious Dr. C.R. Reddy College of Engineering, Eluru. It's one of the extremely renowned college during my time also, even much before I had started my engineering career. Dr. C.R. Reddy, the name itself is taken with a lot of awe. Okay, so I really congratulate you all for being students of this prestigious institution, and I appreciate and convey my deepest regards to the faculty and to the HOD sir for arranging this session, because in the current pandemic situation when things are really getting from bad to worse, it is indeed great to see, very encouraging to see over 84 participants in this webinar. So that speaks very high of your dedication and also the discipline of the students who have taken pains to log into this session. I should congratulate you for setting it such good standards for your college, sir. So this is the Center of Excellence in Maritime and Shipbuilding, Visakhapatnam Center. It is located near Scindia Junction. It's a 5-acre campus with all the latest technologies of Industry 4.0. What you see in front of you is like a ship-shaped building. Okay, in this we have a lot of technologies that the government has kept, got ready for you. It's a world-class facility, actually slated for inauguration by the Prime Minister of India himself. Whenever he gets time to Visakhapatnam, it'll be actually inaugurated officially, though we have started operations, but still the official inauguration is still pending, because the government wanted this to become a tourism destination for industries. Okay, they would like to showcase this particular center as India's marching ahead into the Industry 4.0 technology. We also have a center in Mumbai. This is located in Powai. Okay, so here we have software labs. In the Vizag Center, we have the complete setup of software and hardware labs. So small introduction of SIMS. It is an initiative by Sagarmala, like I told you, as a Ministry of Shipping, Government of India, mainly with an aim to create skilled manpower, because there's a lot of scope expected in the future, in the next 2-3 years, that the industries are going to really grow in a big way across the coastal corridors. And it's a not-for-profit organization. The technology and the infrastructure, the software that we have are very, very high-end. And actually, if you do the courses out here and if you check on the Google and everywhere, the courses, each course is costing over $1,000 and all that. But it's given at a very, very subsidized price. And the complete training is hands-on skills training and placement oriented. Many industries have actually tied up with us. We send the resumes of successful students from our organization for getting absorbed there. We have MOUs with almost all the education institutions and the industries around Vizag and Mumbai. So with this small introduction of SIMS, I will request you to see our website, www.simsindia.org. You'll get a more idea of our thing. Okay. Then we offer offline and online courses. We also offer co-curricular courses. That means while you're doing your engineering, you can start your learning this technology that we offer. We offer internships. We have a 4 months internship which you can do in your final semester. We also give faculty development programs. Students can do their project works, and MTech students can actually do their research works also. And the PhD students also are there with us doing their research work in various areas of manufacturing technologies. So now, what are the key challenges that are that are being faced today by the institutes, education institutions, industries, and students? Some of the main challenges faced by the education institutions is the technology is changing at a very, very rapid pace. Today, you have such technologies like big data, then machine learning, robotics, automation, and all that. So for the education institutions to keep pace with this kind of a requirement, it will be a huge investment for them. Okay, so that is one of the major challenges that the education institution is facing. And because of this, the industry is facing a problem that they expect the students to be ready, industry ready, because the industry is always ahead of the education institutions in terms of technology. The industries cannot afford to have old technology with them. They'll always adopt the latest technologies, because for them, the go-to market is very, very important. They would like the products to go to market as soon as possible. For that, they will not wait for the curriculum to catch up. They will always adopt the latest technology and train their employees in that technology and start functioning. So when they try to employ students on campus interviews and all that, they're a bit disappointed when they find that the students are not having the required skills that they require, because they'll have to invest some time and money and effort in training the new recruits so that they start giving back to the company. So this is why you find that there is some reluctance in the core industry, particularly to employ freshers. And the students as such face a problem is that you are expected to be job ready, and you're expected to have access, even knowledge about all the latest softwares and hardware. However, you don't have the wherewithal to go and access the latest licensed software or work with the latest equipment, because the colleges as such, we don't have this. So for this reason, the government has set up centers like SIMS. Okay. Now, if you can just see, there's if you see the various magazines and newspapers and all the articles are there, the skill gap in the country is definitely very, very wide. Okay, you can see what the newspapers are saying. The Economic Times is saying 1 million engineers are struggling to get placed in an extremely challenging market. DataQuest is saying that Indians the gap in skilled professional is 9% higher than the global average. Then the Business Today says some of the engineers require more skills. They are not fit for the jobs because that industry is at a much advanced stage. Then you also must have known that some of the engineering colleges are closing because the seats are not being taken up. Okay. And the employability survey report, which is done every year, it says that Indian engineers have to be equipped to get more jobs. Okay. And again, another news is 83%, another survey, they're saying that this is a very, very serious case. In fact, this issue was discussed even in the parliament at various for levels. And government is certainly doing a lot of things. So another news is, unemployability seems to be a bigger problem than unemployment. Okay, there are enough jobs, but the problem is unemployability. That means a skill gap. And various organizations have said that India is facing a huge skill gap, and 65 to 75% are not job ready or unemployable. The recent LinkedIn, you're all aware of LinkedIn. They have come out with one recent report around 10 days back only. Hindu also has carried out an editorial on this. It is titled The Future of Talent. You can have a look at it when your spare time. I've given a link there. You can take a screenshot of that. So in that it says 75% of the organizations which will be recruiting employees will look for skills. Okay, I'll repeat that. They will be looking for skills when hiring talent in future, not just marks and your resume. They expect you to be having skills. And 86% of the companies have a dedicated training program to aid their employees in learning new skills. New skills in the sense, Industry 4.0 skills. Okay. So you're all aware that, the government has actually understood the seriousness of the skill gap issue. And they have come out with a beautiful education policy where students from 6th standard itself will be trained in skills. They have come out with a nice program, but this is going to be in the future, maybe in 5 to 10 years now, this skill gap issue will be addressed, and they have already taken good measures. But right now, for you people, this is not the case. You will have to equip yourself with skills, but not to worry. This is not a very, very great rocket science. If you just pay some attention and give some time, you can definitely learn these skills in a quick time and apply your engineering knowledge with these skills, and you will definitely be a force to reckon with in the job market. So what is the solution that the government has found out? They've actually approached the industry. They said, we have this problem of skill gap, and what is the solution? So the industry programs have now been introduced, like SEMS in our program, in our institute. All the training modules have been designed by the industry themselves. They've said, these are the equipment, this is the software, this is what we use, and your students should learn these technologies and learn these tools, and then they can become job ready. And they said, we will give the certification. They have given a program, they have designed a program. They've said, this is the kind of, if it is a 40 hours or 80 hours or 120 hours, they have designed a program. At various stages, there is an assessment. And it goes hierarchical model. If you do one module, you'll go to the next module. Like that, you learn a particular skill, a particular domain. You become an expert in a domain, and then they'll be certifying it. So these certificates are valid internationally. Like in SEMS, the Siemens is the ones who will be certifying it. These certificates are valid internationally. So this the whole aim of the SEM center and the government is to create a skilled manpower, highly professional manpower, who are very, very good in practical knowledge. And these centers also provide a lot of industry interaction. We have various industries visiting us. Each of the labs that we have are associated with some industry. So the industry experts also interact with the students at various levels. They give projects, they give live projects. The students will be actually able to work with the live projects. They are also sent to the industry for seeing for themselves how these projects are, how the technologies that they've learned are put to use there. So these all will be actually giving you a awareness of various technologies that are available, and you start thinking about it, and you start blogging it, you start researching it. It will set you in a self-research mode. So to have this kind of a impetus or some kind of a push to bridge this skill gap, government has started this as a one-stop solution. I'll show you a small video which will give you a complete introduction about SEMS, the idea behind the government and what SEMS has in its arm.
From the world's oldest maritime culture to centuries-old industrial clusters spread across India, India is emerging to become the next global manufacturing hub. Indian manufacturing sector is rapidly transforming and is expected to grow exponentially, creating a huge requirement of skilled jobs. To meet these requirements, we need specialized skilled manpower and Industry Knowledge Research Center, Center of Excellence in Maritime and Shipbuilding, is a dedicated center for facilitating professional skill development and enhancement in maritime, manufacturing, automobile, aerospace, oil and gas, space exploration, and heavy engineering sector. Our mission is to promote advancement and implementation of industrial skills in advanced digital smart manufacturing through research and education partnership with the industry, and turn the vision of the next industrial 4.0 revolution into reality. CEMS is established as a Section 8 not-for-profit organization promoted by Indian Register of Shipping technology partner Siemens Industry Software, along with Sagarmala, Ministry of Shipping, having campus at Mumbai and Visakhapatnam. CEMS is a government initiative for skill development. Hence, all the courses are offered at highly subsidized rates. The specialized industry-linked courses will make the aspirants job ready, while helping the industries to locate the right talent pool. Advanced skills and techniques learned will make the student employable in the field of computer-aided design, engineering, manufacturing, analysis, testing, validation, and product lifecycle management. The courses are on proprietary software of world-renowned engineering giant Siemens Industry Software. We cater the training needs of industry by upskilling and reskilling industry professionals and providing excellent research and development opportunities. SEMS facilitates the industry for research and development, designing, simulation, prototyping, and testing of the product. SEMS courses will be certified by Siemens Industry Software. The 18 state-of-art laboratories with world-class infrastructure are design and validation, digital manufacturing, test and optimization, dimensional accuracy and nesting, hull design, research and CNC machine, automation and mechatronics, robotics and welding, process instrumentation and electrical, virtual reality and radar lab, pneumatics, hydraulics, and pumps piping lab. SEMS aim to bridge the skill gap of students of all spectrum and impart state-of-the-art industry-oriented training to foster significant innovation and learning. CEMS offers comprehensive training to students as well as the employees on following programs. Courses are offered in 3D, CAD, CA, CAM, digital manufacturing, PLM, hull design, robotics, virtual reality, mechatronics hardware courses, etc. are available in our website www.cemsindia.org. 24 of top 25 global automotive OEMs who rely on Siemens Annex 11 and Team Center for Design and Product Lifecycle Management. Siemens solutions are also mission critical within the aerospace industry. CEMS has started its operation from 1st April 2019 and has already trained over 400 students. As of date, June 2019, we have signed MOUs with over 18 technical universities in Mumbai and Vizag to offer courses to bridge the gap between industry expectations and the knowledge capital of students. This is significantly enhancing the capacity of the students along with the employment potential. Join us on a skill development journey towards Industry 4.0.
So that is a short video about SIMS. Coming to Industry 4.0, like I'm sure some of you are knowledgeable and you would have had some introduction about Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 or fourth industrial revolution is supposed to be the era has started from 2011 onwards. Prior to Industry 4.0, we had three revolutions. The first one starting with the steam engine and way back in the end of 18th century, followed by the introduction of electrical energy sometime in the beginning of 20th century. And then the third major industrial revolution happened when computers and information technology came into our world around 1969. And from 2011 onwards, whatever technologies that we've actually developed over the period of time have further advanced into talking to each other, communicating with each other with the help of internet, which has come, and with cyber physical systems have actually changed, again, revolutionized the industrial environment now. So in fact, it has become almost like a very, very common thing to have Industry 4.0 in almost every technology, everything that you see in your day-to-day life also. Okay. What is Industry 4.0 in short? Okay, they're nothing but digitally connected computers. A computer can be almost you have a walking computer in your own phone. Okay, like that you have almost all the devices connected with each other, and the decisions are taken without much of human involvement. It's a combination of cyber physical systems, the Internet of Things, and Internet of Systems. They all, we're all engineers, and all these technologies have made the machine smarter, and the factory has also become smarter. Okay, so today you will find that very, very few people are actually working in the factory on the shop floor. You'll find machines that will be actually doing your work. I'll be showing you some videos also where you'll find hundreds of robots actually working and a lot of automation taking place in various departments. So all this is to make less wasteful factories, more efficient, more productive, and less wasteful. The resources are at a premium. So these Industry 4.0 as technologies has made this possible, that you're able to come out with much better productivity with much less input. Okay. Now there are certain design principles on which the Industry 4.0 are actually based on. It's on interoperability, transparency, and technical assistance, decentralization, and all. So which you can also read about it. So basically, ability of people and devices and machines to connect with each other, and these devices are also expected to do jobs which are unsafe for humans to do. So like this, there are various principles that are based on which this Industry 4.0 technologies are based upon. And these are the building blocks of Industry 4.0. You have additive manufacturing, augmented reality, big data analytics, autonomous robots, simulation, vertical system integration, industrial Internet of Things. And then since so much of internet and everything is there, so you'll be actually, you require cybersecurity again, because it's a totally based on internet. So these are all they are the foundation for Industry 4.0. So I would like to show you a small video of Industry 4.0 to understand how things work today.
A vision of tomorrow's manufacturing. Products finding their way independently through the production process. In intelligent factories, machines and products communicate with each other, cooperatively driving production. Raw materials and machines are interconnected within an Internet of Things. The objective, highly flexible, individualized, and resource-friendly mass production. That is the vision for the fourth industrial revolution. A look back at history. At the end of the 18th century, the first steam engines and the intelligent use of hydropower revolutionized production. The late 19th century saw the rise of electrical engineering and mass production. The first moving belt conveyor was used as long ago as 1870 in the slaughterhouses of Cincinnati, Ohio. In the mid-1970s, electronics and IT began to expand rapidly into industry. Siemens developed the first SIMATIC. Production became increasingly based on computer-assisted controls. The fourth industrial revolution is still a vision. Experts believe that it will only become a reality within the next 20 years. In intelligent factories, everything is interconnected wirelessly. At the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence in Kaiserslautern, this future can already be experienced right now. Research is underway here into exactly what the industrial production of tomorrow will be like.
Fabriken werden zukünftig aus Bausteinen bestehen, aus smarten oder intelligenten Bausteinen, wie man es nennen mag. Vergleichen wir das vielleicht mal so ein bisschen mit einer Lego-Steinwelt. Das heißt, wir haben standardisierte Bausteine, die wir hoffentlich relativ einfach zusammenstecken und zusammensetzen können. Jeder dieser Bausteine hat bestimmte Funktionalitäten und wir können sie zukünftig in einem solchen fabrikinternen Internet dann kombinieren.
A bottling plant for liquids, set up together with Siemens, is used to demonstrate the most important components of the intelligent factory of the future. Each bottle contains an RFID chip storing a precise description of how it has to be processed. Which liquid, which lid, and which label. At each station, the bottle communicates directly with the machine, telling it how it has to be processed. At the end, a computer checks whether the bottle has actually been produced as desired. Factories with networked machines and products are already in existence today. In the future, however, these hitherto self-contained systems will be connected together in a comprehensive network. All devices, machines, and materials will be duly equipped with sensors and communications technology and connect to each other. These systems are known as cyber-physical systems. The highlight is that they communicate with each other and also control each other cooperatively.
Wenn Sie sich das Thema Industrie 4.0 angucken, dann basiert sie ja auf der Logik dieser Cyber-Physical Systems. Das heißt, Sie haben autokrate, selbst arbeitende Systeme, die sich optimieren und sich gegenseitig austauschen. Und dadurch letzten Endes Produktion optimieren.
Ja, die Vision sieht so aus, dass wir ein Internet quasi hinunterziehen bis auf die unterste Ebene. Das heißt, jeder Sensor, jeder Aktor wäre damit quasi ein Teilnehmer eines Internet der Dinge. Jedes Gerät hat damit eine eigene IP-Adresse, ist damit adressierbar in diesem Netzwerk.
For the customers, this means tailor-made products at relatively affordable prices. For industry, it means highly flexible mass production that can be rapidly adapted to market changes. Because in the future, product life cycles will be even shorter. Another reason why it's increasingly important to depict engineering across the entire life cycle. Maintenance, for instance, is planned in from the very start.
Wir haben ja bereits in den 90er Jahren mit Totally Integrated Automation entsprechend ein Setup gewählt, wo unsere Produkte und Systeme sehr gut miteinander kommunizieren können.
At Corporate Technology in Princeton, a cyber-physical control is being researched even today. The vision, the control, and all linked sensors are connected to the internet.
One potential scenario is enabling the PLC to react to utility pricing information in building automation. We can enhance PLCs to use simulation to calculate how much to pre-cool a building with the ultimate goal of turning off the cooling system during peak times.
But that's just the beginning.
We've prototyped capabilities in a PLC to access big data in cyberspace in real time. And we've also enabled a network of PLCs to connect to a dynamic simulation of the entire physical process.
Siemens is shaping the future of industry. Connecting the real with the virtual world of production is making it possible to enter entirely new dimensions in quality, efficiency, and flexibility. The company is well prepared for Industry 4.0.
So that is Industry 4.0. In a simple layman terms, I will just try to explain to you, like some of you would have seen this Fitbit and smartwatches that you all wear these days, which will record the number of steps you have taken, the heartbeat, the calories burned, and all. Imagine the same Fitbit, if it senses something wrong in the heartbeat or in the blood pressure, it sends out 3 signals. One to the doctor, one to your family doctor, one to the hospital, and one to the ambulance. Ambulance comes home, the doctor goes to the hospital prepares the operation theater. So with a simple sensor, which is sensing your blood pressure and heartbeat, and the devices communicating with each other, you're able to save one life. So ultimately, all these technologies are for human improvement of human thing, for enhancing the health. So this is what Industry 4.0 is about, the devices communicating with each other. And interestingly, as you have seen, this particular technology is a boon for you EC students, because all the complete hardware and software, and you all will adapt to this technology much faster than any other branch, because you are all trained in that particular area. So you have an advantage there, that if you just arm yourself with a few other skills, you will be ready to go into this Industry 4.0 environment. Now, what are the skills that are required? Something you have to understand, what is a digital twin. You should understand that robotics, how these robotics actually work. Then you should understand the Internet of Things, IoT, artificial intelligence, where you predict, you have a lot of data which you analyze, and then you come out with artificial intelligence to predict what you would do, what you're required to do. The big data, we have this Industry 4.0 is now thrown in so much of data that you have with the sensors and devices fitted all over, that you should have the capacity and capability to analyze this data and make a decision which will help, for which you need again a data science. Okay. Then cloud computing, all this data has to be kept somewhere, and there's the various cloud computing technologies that you should learn. Automation. Now, what happens in the background of all this Industry 4.0? Where are the PLCs and the devices and the protocols and networking and all that happens? That also you should understand. Then mechatronics is again a very niche area of Industry 4.0, which you have to understand, where all the technologies are grouped together to come out with an integrated solution. So this is about the various skills that you are supposed to learn. There are a few other things like machine learning and deep learning and other things which are also related to these skills. Now, what is a digital twin? Okay, to give you to make you understand what is a digital twin, what you see in front of you are a variety of cars. Okay, you see hatchbacks there, you have sedans there, you have SUVs there, you have high luxury segment cars there. Now, like you all know, every 15 days or 1 month, one new car comes out, one new model comes out. And you have various companies like this Toyota, Ford, Renault, Mitsubishi, Audi, GM, Skoda, Honda. All these companies come out with new models every 15-20 days, 1 month or something like that. So they're able to churn out the cars, various new models, new variants, and at a very fast rate. Imagine now how this, like, we have come to a situation that today, even if somebody who's passionate about cars, he will also not be able to tell you how many models of cars are there. But just around 22 years back, we had just one model. We had only one ambassador car on the streets of the country. Whereas today we have come to a stage that we don't even know how many cars models are actually there in the market. So how this transformation has taken place? What is that one particular technology improvement or technology introduction that has actually made this possible, that every 15 days or 1 month you're having some new model coming up? And car is just one example. You can think of any equipment, like even mobiles, like you have so many mobiles there in the market today, and we are still counting. They have just listed a few of them. And again, if you go back sometime, we just had one communication means, which is this, this landline phone that we have, BSNL phone. If you can ask your parents and grandparents how much time it used to take to get this connection. We used to apply for this phone, and almost 8 years to 10 years it used to take to get a phone connection. And that too, sometimes you need to have high recommendation to get a phone connection. Whereas today, in just 20 minutes, you can just go there, you put your thumb on the device of Aadhaar device, and the SIM card is there in your phone, and you're online. You can talk to anyone, and you can access information across the world within no time. Okay, so this kind of a technology, how this has happened, we have come to some, there is a thing called digital twin, where earlier all this whatever product that was being manufactured, a prototype had to be first made, and all the testing and design and everything was being done on that prototype. If any problems comes while testing, again you go back to the factory and workshop and you change that, you modify this, and again do the testing. So this testing used to take hours and hours and days and months and even years and years, because a product has to be tested thoroughly. Only then it used to be introduced in the market, because the company invests a lot of money in employing people, getting infrastructure, getting land, current, and all these things to make a product. And if that product is introduced into the market without properly testing it, and if it fails, nobody else will, no one will buy the product of that particular product or no other product which that company is making. It will spoil the reputation of the company. So testing used to be very, very important, and testing used to happen only on the prototype. Whereas today, this testing, the design, the testing, and the manufacture also is happening on a digital twin. It is happening on a virtual environment. Okay, so just see this video and you can see in which all industries this digital twin has actually shaped place.
A vision of tomorrow's manufacturing.
Sorry, it's a long video. So that you can see is even in this, you must have all heard about the Mars rover. Even that also was manufactured, was actually first designed on the digital twin and then sent. Every automotive company, every major industry which is making a product is actually making a digital twin. All the technologies inside a physical model are actually tested in the virtual model. The software, the mechanics, the electrics, the physical behavior, everything is now included in digital twin. The testing still happens, but still when of the model which comes out, But now the testing phase has drastically reduced because thanks to this digital twin. Okay, then you come to robotics, which is another very important field in Industry 4.0. There are, you all know what robots are. They make so many jobs easy and all. And you should be able to understand and also go understand not only the technology of how to do programming of robots, you should also understand the technology of how to make more than one robot or multiple robots work seamlessly between them, communicate between them, and so that you are actually able to give very good output to the company. If you are able to know that, just see how these robots work among themselves, how seamlessly the entire organization is based on only robotics. So I'm just showing you a BMW factory video. So you saw that the various operations, every operation is actually being done by so many robots, and for the same function, in fact, multiple robots are doing different operations. So you should be able to understand the technology behind making these robots do the work that you want them to do. So like this, there are various videos you can get more. We have you must have observed that this robot, the name of the robot that was working is KUKA, which even we have the same robots in SEMS. We have 3 robots, MIG welding and pick and place and plasma cutting, to teach our students how to operate these robots. Not only single robot, we can even operate multiple robots here. So now coming to the other industry 4.0 technologies that you have, I would like to tell you that there are IoT, the artificial intelligence and data science and big data and cloud computing, which will be explained to you in detail by Mr. Prasad, who is a very experienced specialist in this. He's a certified cloud solutions architect, the Lean Six Sigma and Green Belt certified. He worked in architecting various cloud solutions in Azure, AWS, and GCP. He's skilled in Amazon Web Services and Azure, Google Cloud Platform, and he's trained over 500 plus professionals. So Mr. Prasad will be actually taking you from me to explain to you these technologies about IoT, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing. Over to you, Mr. Prasad.
Thank you, Gopi sir. Thanks for the opportunity. I also thank HOD sir and other faculty for providing such a great opportunity to present a webinar in the C.R. Reddy prestigious college. Good morning, friends. So let me share my screen. I would rather explain on a whiteboard, right? Explaining the technologies. So you might be hearing about this buzzword technologies like IoT, Internet of Things, right? And artificial intelligence, data science, and cloud computing, right? So all these technologies are very essential when we are talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0, because now we are talking about smart factories. Smartness. What does this smartness mean? Here, right from the production of the goods, right from the production to the customer, right? Right from the production of the product to the customer, everything is managed without human intervention. This is what smart factories talk about. And in the similar format, smart factories talk about of self-management, without any human intervention. That means if any machine breakdowns, previously human intervention was necessary, right? But when you talk about the smart factories, even before a machine breakdowns, right, we will identify this faulty machine. We will identify this faulty part and we will upfront replace this faulty part, right? Even before machine breakdowns, you would be replacing that faulty part. So what happens here? We would be saving time. Save what? Save time, money, and the production would be more viable. So here, this smartness includes these 4 technologies: Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, data science, cloud computing, and even big data. Let me explain one by one, right? So you are from electronics, so you know what is a drone, how a drone operates, right? So drone, this is a smart drone. So for example, if you send a drone in an industry, it will capture all the images of the various parts of the industry, and it will send the data to the centralized location, or we call it as a storage place, right? So this drone sends the data. We call it as a server, right? Data to the server. Now, when this drone is sending the data, it has accompanied with it with a camera, right? This drone is accompanied with a camera, and it also sends the captured images to the server. How this is happening? So here, the drone is connected via internet. No physical wiring connection will be there, right? So drone is constantly communicating with this server where the data need to be sent over the internet. So that's the reason this technology is being named as Internet of Things, right? So we would have heard about smart homes, where it will give an alarm whenever a thief enters or unknown third person enters, right? How it is feasible? Because all the devices in this smart home are communicating with a centralized location called a server. And all these communication happens over the internet, right? So here in IoT, we are using some of the devices called Raspberry Pi, Arduino, which you have heard, right? So those devices will be readily accompanied with an software where they would be enabling the communication with the rest of the devices over the internet. Now, here in the industry, you would be also using this robotics. So robotics is also a combination of Internet of Things, right? Where the communication would be happening over the various devices. Now, if you learn this technology, if you are aware, now industries which are operating in IR 4.0 are looking for these technologies inside any of the professional, right? When they are hired by the industry, they are looking for these technologies, Industry 4.0, Internet of Things. This is one of the technology where very huge demand is there in the market, right? Now, everything is managed, no human intervention. Previously, there used to be 100 employees, but now with 10 employees, we can manage whole industry, the working area, right? So now this industry, this IoT technology, where all the appliances are operating, right, have the data. This data is in the form of an image, in the form of a text, right, in the form of a video. Now, we all know that we are also learning a concept called DBMS, Database Management System, where you are learning Oracle, right, or MySQL, where these are called as traditional databases, right, where these are called as traditional databases. Why? Because the data is always stored in the table format, right? Data is stored in the table format where it is divided into columns and rows. This we all are aware. But here, this DBMS, there are certain rules where the image cannot be directly saved inside this database, right? Text in an unorganized format cannot be directly stored inside this. Even though it is a text data, you should organize in a certain pattern where it will be stored in the form of a columns and rows, right? And this database Oracle or MySQL will be sitting on a particular machine and a single server would be there. So the processing of the data would be taking huge amount of time, right? So now for processing 100 GB of data, say for example, it will take one whole day, 24 hours of time, right? So here, lot of time is being consumed by this particular server to process a single amount of data. But here, one more disadvantage is that the images and the videos are not able to be processed. And here, this data is very huge to be handled by the normal systems, right? So here, the data is big and it is not being handled by the normal traditional systems. So here, they evolved a concept called big data. Big data, right? A new age technology database, for example, MongoDB, Cassandra, HBase. These are few examples of this big data databases where this big data can handle any kind of a database. Any kind of data can be handled by this big data. That means even if you provide images, even if you provide text data, a video that is being streamed and processed can be handled by big data, right? So here, this new age technology is also adopting this big data concept. Now, what is the advantage here when we are comparing with the traditional technologies, right? So big data here, what it does is it also takes the advantage of your computation power, your number of CPUs, the number of servers that is being supported. Now, the data that is being processed into this server is divided into multiple platforms, right? So this is your host and these are your slaves. We can call it as a master and slave concept, right? This is slave 1, slave 2, slave 3, and slave 4. That means whenever the data is being processed into one single system, which is being established on a distributed environment, right? The processing is very, very fast. When it is taking 24 hours of time to process 100 GB of data, here within 2 or 3 hours, the data is being processed. Why? Because it is just like your teamwork. What is the difference when one person is given, right, a work which can be completed by this single person in 24 hours, right? And the same kind of a work that is given to 4 persons, right? So this can be completed within 6 hours. So the load is distributed among these 4 persons. So similarly, distributed environment will support the big data environment where the data can be processed in a very fast manner. And what happens here? The decisions can be taken very fast, right? So from IoT, the data is being processed and provided to a database where in Industry 4.0, we are using this big data. Now, big data takes care of the data that is being sent and it is being processed with a distributed environment, right? Now, how do you take these decisions, right? So many companies, what is happening today, we need systems, right? Systems are nothing but your CPUs, laptops, or in your labs, you might have seen servers, right? Big computer systems, right? Which will operate and provide the task to multiple small systems is called as a server. server will be able to handle very big amount of load when compared to your normal laptops. Now, this big data, right, and other applications need huge amount of servers, right? So where do the organizations or the companies maintain this? They have a separate center called data center. Data center means all the computers, hardware, servers, network, storage, everything is located at a single place called a data center, right? So this data center may be as huge as your football ground size, or more than this. There will be bigger than this, because there is very huge infrastructure maintained. Now, when you talk about small and medium scale companies, they cannot afford to buy this big data centers, right? So now slowly we started to take rent of this infrastructure. Infrastructure, when I'm referring to infrastructure, I'm talking about servers, hardware, network, storage, and everything, right? So we are taking rent of this infrastructure. Since big data requires very huge infrastructure, very huge amount of servers with high configuration, this cannot be handled normally. So in order to take rent or leverage the advantage, we are switching to cloud computing, right? Cloud computing. They revolved a concept called cloud computing. What is this cloud computing? Now, there is a 5 lakh rupees system, right? Or a laptop, which is very, very powerful. You can use it for any purpose, right? And this is offered by Dell. For example, this is offered by Dell, and it is not available everywhere, right? But I want to purchase it. I cannot, because I will be not able to afford this 5 lakhs rupees, and I cannot. But when I explored, I got an option called cloud computing. And I came to know that the same kind of setup and the same kind of performance is being provided through cloud computing. And I need not spend 5 lakh rupees at a time. So what happens? Instead of paying 5 lakhs rupees, I will pay 5,000 rupees and take rent for 1 year. But here, there is a dependency called internet. So over the internet, this service is available. And for this, I also have a vendor called Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud, right? So these are very famous names, which are famous cloud providers, right? So now cloud computing is nothing but taking the servers, databases, servers, network, right, hardware, and other software applications over the internet, and we are going to pay for this. Pay as you go. That means how you are utilizing the postpaid SIM connection, or how you are paying your electricity bill or water bill. Once you consume those resources, how much you consume, that much amount you are going to pay for that. On the similar fashion, these cloud computing technology would be operating. Now, what advantage you have for this? You will be saving 30 to 40% of the revenue. The industry would be saving 30 to 40% of the revenue on this cloud computing. Now, cloud computing also provides various other services, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, and you name it, you have it on the cloud computing. You need not search for any of the other alternatives. In fact, when you choose cloud computing, you can start your investment with zero. You can start your business, that means IT business, with zero investment. That is the advantage. We can pay after 30 days, after 1 month. This is the advantage of cloud computing. So if you are going for your own setup, then you should spend crores of money, right? Billions of dollars will be spent to set up a single data center, right? So this is where you are storing your data, right? You are processing your data. You are also sharing your network, right? And many other software applications are available over the cloud, right? So now all the data, right? So your IoT is generating the data. It is giving to big data. Where is this big data established? And other servers on the cloud, right? On the cloud. From cloud, again, you would be using the concepts of data science and artificial intelligence. Now, for what purpose you are using this? So you are collecting the data, right? Very huge amount of data is being collected. This data, why you are collecting? For your business, right? So I need to increase my productivity. Productivity, how to predict it? I need to increase my productivity. How to increase it? So what you would be doing, you would be taking the concepts and right of data science, right, where you will be actually collecting the data that is generated from the various sources, right, and you would be processing it. Processing while doing filtering. Only the wanted data you would be collecting it, and you would be processing it, and you would be filtering it. How you would be doing this? You would be doing with the help of machine learning concepts, right? How you would be doing it? You with the help of machine learning concepts, right? Now, the historical data is being passed into these algorithms, right? Here, basically, you would be dealing with the programming languages like Python and R, right? So with the help of the programming languages, you would be building the machine learning algorithms, right? So what happens here? Automatically, the data is passed and you can predict the future. You can predict the future to increase your productivity, and you can also target your clients. So it will also help you to enhance your productivity, right? So the data science as such can be applicable for any domain, and this is playing a very crucial role in Industry 4.0. So what are the various advantages, right? Data science, the smart factories right? Where we can also manage the machines, right? And we can reduce the downtime. Reduce downtime. Downtime means the amount of time where they are shutting down the factories. This is called as a downtime, right? So that the productivity is higher. And you can also concentrate on the future, and you can also predict which machine exactly will be failed, right? What is the time elapsed? You will be placing the sensors, right? This is again IoT. This IoT data would be stored, right? So from that, you would be collecting the data and you would be building the various models. So this data science is not only used in IR 4.0, but across all the domains. You talk about health, right? You talk about insurance, you talk about mechanical, you talk about electrical. In any field, this data science is used, right? So this is one way where you can predict the future and you can enhance the machine performance. And we are also using artificial intelligence. This is the advanced concept of your data science, where you would be using deep learning techniques. Deep learning and neural networks, right? So what is this artificial intelligence? We are making the machines, the robots, right, to work exactly like your humans, right? So we are imbibing the humanism inside machines. So we are seeing driverless cars, right? Driverless cars work on this AI, artificial intelligence, where they process the various images, right? And they will be trained n number of times and they will be tested in reality, right? So to avoid any unforeseen errors, any disasters, the machine will be trained n number of times and it will be made perfect. So near perfect, 100% perfect is not possible. So 99% of the times your machine would be error free. So here, this artificial intelligence is used for image processing, right? It can recognize the person. How exactly with the help of these image processing, your smart homes and your smart factories are built. So nowadays, we are entering into colleges and schools in a contactless mode. How this contactless mode is built? So here we are building the IoT device where it will capture the image of a student, and automatically it will take the attendance, right? So image processing is used. So like this, there are many advantages of this artificial intelligence and deep learning, including the data science, where there are a lot of scope in various industries, right? So here, all these combined together, Internet of Things, big data, right? Cloud computing, data science, and artificial intelligence. Of course, in data science, we are also covering machine learning, right? So all together propel your Industrial Revolution 4.0 combined together, it makes a smart factory, right? So this is about your various technologies. We have lot of scope in these technologies and there is a huge requirement. Right, friends? So So Gopi Garu, this is, I'm done.
Thank you, Prasad Garu. I hope the students have, that was very informative. Now I'll continue with a few other some more technologies which we will be sharing to the students. Okay, now I'll hand over to my colleague, Mr. Suresh, who will be taking the students through automation, electrical and energy saving and other technologies that we have at SEMS here. Over to Suresh.
Good morning, everyone. Suresh here. Now I'll explain you about few technologies which are very emerging and very useful for your career. Coming to the electrical and energy savings, so these are the various courses we have. First of all, we are talking about induction motor, and what you learned in your academics is one thing, and what actually industry requires is here it is. So selection criteria. Yeah. So how do you select a motor based on an application? If the application is about a compressor or a pump or any other thing, so like it depends on various industries. Like if it is oil and gas industry, utmost care should be taken. So where we actually requires a flame proof or explosion proof of motors. So like that, there are various applications, and each and every application requires different varieties of motors, and what are all the parameters to be considered while selecting the motor we will teach here. And coming to the motor nameplate details, so by just looking at the motor nameplates, what we can understand, what we can get all the information on the motor. So this is all again very important to learn, like for the students who are actually interested in the core side and they want to join as a GET in the field of operations and the maintenance side, and the comparison of normal and energy efficiency motor. So what energy efficiency motors gives an advantage when it comes to the when it compared to the normal motor. So we call IE1, IE2, IE3, IE4. Like it is similar to BAS 3-star and 5-star ratings of home appliances. So it is similar kind to that. And when it comes to the larger kilowatt and HP, whether it is like HP and kilowatt, so we can achieve a lot of energy savings if we go for energy efficiency motors. And erection commissioning of induction motor, why we actually talking about induction motor is because it consumes 80% of the load, and it is actually 80% of the loads are induction motors only, and it has very significance. And why it is robust and maintenance free, and it takes very less investment as compared to other motors. So how do you erect a motor, and how do you do the commissioning, and what is the commissioning, and what are all the activities we carry during the commissioning of a motor? So you can learn here. And maintenance of induction motor, when it comes to the maintenance after installation, what maintenance we do actually for the motor. So it is like preventive maintenance or predictive maintenance or breakdown maintenance. So what is the problem and what is the remedy? So this is very important for an maintenance engineer to do. There will be number of motors in the field. So and the SIMO code for intelligent MCC. A SIMO code is a serious motor management and controlling device, and this is a smart way of controlling a motor and monitoring. And MCC is nothing but motor control center. So SIMO code is actually autonomous automation system for a motor. So irrespective whether if automation fails, like a DCS or PLC fails to operate, and as a SIMO code itself automation system for the motor, which actually controls the motor and collects all the data. And it is benefit, what are all the benefits if we maintain a SIMO code for a MCC? So this is a very important to learn. And industrial switchgear and energy studies. So after a motor, so what are all the switchgears and protecting devices are required for a motor? and we call it as a feeder. So in feeder, definitely we have a lot of motor protection and controlling devices, so which are nothing but MCB, MCCB, MPCB, RCCB, ELCB, relays and timers. So you are going to learn construction and characteristics. So if you see just MCB, so you might have heard about miniature circuit breaker, and there are a lot of characteristics, lot of different classifications in it, a 2-pole, 3-pole, and there are characteristics like C characteristics and D characteristics, and what does it represents, and how do you select a particular MCB or motor protection circuit breaker, which is MPCB, and RCCB, how it functions, and how do you select that RCCB for a particular application. And you are going to learn in that, and contactors, and then power and control wiring for a motor, which is nothing but DOL, RDOL, and star delta. Of course, a reverse star delta you can perform, and power and control wiring of a soft starter. A soft starter is one thing, and which incorporates which works with IGBTs or thyristors, which are SCR family. And the control wiring is plays very important role in any of electrical equipment, because you need interlocks and protecting things to be considered, and you do the soft starter configuration from the panel. And when we talk about AC/DC drives, and we should definitely talk about energy savings. How do you achieve energy savings with an electrical drive? So with power electronics, are which are nothing but IGBTs and SCRs. So we have a G120 drive, which is a Cinematics family from Siemens, and a 680 DC drive. So you are going to learn completely a drive family. You are going to do the commissioning part, and complete calculations and selection of a drive for typical applications like a compressor, or if it is an elevator or whatnot, if it is a mixer. For different applications, the drive has to be parameterized accordingly, and you are going to learn about a maintenance and troubleshooting part, and again, which is very important in terms of maintenance aspects. And this is power systems, where we actually teach you about the fault and fault level calculations. So the diagnosis of a fault is very important. Fault identification itself, we can say 50% of the fault rectification. So here you are going to learn about the selectivity and discrimination concepts of air circuit breakers, and we have here 3WT and 3WL circuit breaker, which are actually a communication capable. And the communications are nothing but we talk about Profi communication, which are a Profinet communication and Profi bus communication. So we do communicate with the ACB and PAC 4200, which is nothing but an intelligent or smart energy meter, so which measures both import and export power, which are actually industrial grade, and most of the power plants are actually using a PAC 4200. And here we have a lot of softwares, which are nothing but Simaris and Power Config software, of course TI portal. So these are all courses available: AC/DC drives, induction motors, and switchgears, so and power systems. So if you learn these concepts, actually you are ready for the job in terms of operations and maintenance in any of the industry. These are very essential for any EC or instrumentation or electrical students to learn about. And coming to the automation, the world is cannot be imagined nowadays without automation. And we teach you about industrial automation, which is nothing but for any application, for any industry, there are different automation processes involved. So for each and every application, we teach you about, we take you through a lot of process, and we teach you how do we program with a structural programming with industrial logics. And we have TIA portal software, which is an engineering framework in which we can do the PLC programming and SCADA. So this is about the SCADA. And after doing programming for any application, if you see here, this is one application where you do the programming for this application. And in order to visualize the concept, visualize the entire process, you need a screen from where you actually control the entire plant from sitting in one control room. So there will be number of SCADA systems for each and every application, And this is how actually a control room will be looks like. This is an example of control room, and these are the trends. So for if it is a application like a crusher, if it is anything, a pelletizer, so how it is actually consuming the power and how it is performing, you can actually generate the trends. And also and also this is a thing where you can actually generate alarms and reports. And user administration, again, a very important, nothing but giving access to the operator level and engineer level and a management level. So user administration is about that, and recipes. So these are all major things available in the SCADA. So like you heard about, SCADA is nothing but supervisory control and data acquisition, which is heart of complete plant. So coming to the industrial HMI, human machine interface, we teach about programming of this HMI, and these are all. So this is just an example. It is showing his operator is actually controlling one process from a touch panel, which is a HMI. And the communications are various communications like Modbus TCP and RS485 communication and iDevice communication. So if it is a communication with PLC to PLC, if it is a PLC to the drive, or if it is a PLC to any other field device, how do you take the decision whether it is to be Modbus TCP or any other communication, which communication will be better, and what is the communication actually the device capable of? So the communication very important after learning this automation concept. So we teach about communication protocols. So these are all modules available in automation lab, PLC, SCADA, and HMI networking. The 50 hours, 50, 40 is just to make you understanding of total concept, and then you need a lot of practice for various applications. Then you will be perfect for programming and designing the screens for and communication for any application. So coming to the mechatronics, you should learn automation before you come to the mechatronics, because automation is prerequisite for the mechatronics. And the mechatronics is a multidisciplinary domain where electrical automation, electrical ECE, and instrumentation and other mechanical students work together to understand this mechatronics concept. It is simple as simple. You're going to learn about different pneumatics and electro-pneumatics, hydraulics, and electrical and electronic components. And the important thing is how actually energy flows, or mass flow, or information flow. This is a very important topic, and you are going to program each and every mechatronic system we have here, and different sensors and actuators. How do you actually connect it to the PLC? So when it comes to the analog inputs and analog outputs and digital inputs and digital outputs, so which sensor gives an analog and which sensor gives the digital, and how do you actually configure with the PLC is very important task. And troubleshooting, you have to troubleshoot the complete mechatronic system. That is a very important thing again. So this is about mechatronics study. So here the process instrumentation, generally we talk about four things. So one is level, flow, temperature, and pressure. So if you go any industry, these parameters to be monitored continuously and measured, and we should send the measured parameters to the automation system, which is nothing but a DCS or a PLC. So how do you program any instrument, and how do you access the parameters to the PLC or DCS? And here we have a very powerful tool called Semantic PDM, Process Device Manager. And here you are going to communicate each and every instrument. And of course, you will connect these instruments to the automation system. So this is a Semantic PCS7, a very powerful processor, and it has a capable to connect 32 clients, which is nothing but you can connect 32 slaves. This is going to be a master, and it supports redundancy, and it is actually very accurate in doing IO processing, and it takes very less scan. So if you go any major industries like oil and gas industry, pharma industry, heavy engineering sector, you will find this kind of controllers. So here the focused areas are process instrumentation and distributed systems. So when it comes to the radar, you already have the subject with the radar system. So the basic radar system, the theoretical concepts you can apply here. Here we teach about radar history and how radar classified, and here we have a target positioning system. So there will be a target moving with an velocity and it has a trajectory. So the transmitter sends the signal, and based on the receiver signal received at the receiver, so we have to analyze the signal, and we have to calculate the velocity and the trajectory and the shape of a target. So this is of 50 hours duration. So we are sure once you learn all these concepts, we can assure that you can actually develop a good projects, and this will be very helpful for your future to settle in core jobs. So I'm handovering to Gopi sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suresh. So you learned about the various IoT technologies and automation requirements. Then we have a technology called product lifecycle management. This is again a very useful tool that which will help you get very niche jobs. I'll just show you a small video so that you can understand what all PLM can do.
Digitalization is changing everything. Enterprises need to react and become digital enterprises. Siemens offers solutions for the digital enterprise. In this age of disruptive innovation, manufacturers need to drive digitalization from the idea through the factory all the way to the customer. Siemens PLM software can help. Your journey starts with Teamcenter, a platform that fosters collaboration and accelerates innovation. Teamcenter helps manage requirements and workflows, work with suppliers, leverage systems-based design, streamline manufacturing, and more. Smart design is essential for today's smart products. Siemens software promotes systems-driven development that integrates mechanical, electrical, software, and electronics design. And breakthroughs like convergent modeling help you create a dynamic digital twin of your product that transforms downstream processes. In engineering, the digital twin helps predict performance with simulations for thermal behavior, airflow, and more, and physical tests for factors like noise and vibration. In manufacturing, product and production digital twins interact to optimize global operations on the fly. You can design new layouts, balance assembly lines, analyze worker safety, and assess robot performance. This ensures that production runs at peak efficiency before it even runs. The benefits of driving a digital enterprise also extend to production. With virtual and real worlds tightly aligned, you can optimize production with MES, prove out automation performance, 3D print real products, and achieve closed-loop manufacturing. The value of PLM doesn't stop with production. Data analytics help you analyze your whole process, including the customer experience, so you can uncover the next idea that could disrupt your industry. This is real digital transformation. This is innovation for the smart age. This is Siemens PLM software. The products and integrated solutions for the manufacturing industry are an essential part of the holistic portfolio for the digital enterprise. Siemens is your partner for digitalization on the way to Industry 4.0.
So product lifecycle management is again a very important Industry 4.0 tool that you can all equip yourselves with. We teach Teamcenter, which is already one of the world's most reputed software. Almost 70% of the companies actually use Teamcenter. You can see the names of the companies in front of on your screen. So that coming back to the SIMS labs and courses, you already had a look at the video where we have SIMS labs, which we showed in the Sagarmala video. Let's show you the tour of the campus so that you can understand where you'll be trained here. CNC lab followed by robotics lab. Sorry, I had to rush through that video to the paucity of time. So that comes to the end of our presentation, and I hope you have fairly understood what are the various technologies that you have to equip yourselves with. You can contact us whenever required. I'll now hand over to Ms. Sahitya to finish the proceedings.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us a tribute to host all the members of the meeting. I'm thankful to all the participants for attending this webinar. And actually, we are of GNV IT Solutions. Actually, we are the topmost IT training institute in Vijayawada. We are providing cutting-edge emerging technologies, IT technologies, and life science courses as well, and robotics too. And we are a great placement assistance to fresh graduates and new opportunities to the students. And for your career change, you can just contact us. We are just dropping the details of our contacts. You can just see in it in the chat box. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Satish Garu, and thank you, Shivam, sir, for giving such an opportunity.
Thank you very much, madam. Before closing, I just want to thank Kalyani madam for contacting us and arranging this interaction program with the students. Thank you very much, madam. And I also thank Commander Gopi Krishna Shivam sir for presenting such a wonderful presentation and giving a lot of information which is useful for the students, because as you said, sir, there are a lot of opportunities, galaxy of opportunities were there outside, but due to the lack of knowledge and due to the lack of information, the students are unable to know what are the opportunities they have in the industry. Thank you once again, and thank you our HOD sir for providing Zoom link and all the resources for streaming YouTube live. Thank you very much, sir, and I thank all the students who have participated in the webinar, and thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Sir, shall we close the meeting?
Sir.
Yes, sir. Any questions the students may want to ask? Any question answers? Anything the students want to clarify?
You can take it. Any students
Students, if you want to ask him.
And later also you can contact us so that we will inform them. If you want to ask any doubts personally also, you can contact me. I will inform to them.
Sir, feedback form, sir.
Feedback form we will take, sir. We will circulate in the group, and that I will share to you.
Right, sir. If there are no questions, I think maybe we may close this session. Thank you once again, sir, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, Saitya ma'am. Thank you, Kalyani ma'am. Thank you, Prasad Garu. Thank you, HOD sir.